Sean, I guess with the unbeaten run you've been on, it must be a great feeling around the place at the moment.
Yeah, I think it grows. I think generally there's a good feeling around our camp anyway, but obviously it does grow when you're getting good results, and particularly a good run, with another big performance against one of the top sides, because they are, in my opinion, without doubt, one of the top sides. So, very pleased with that, and it does, of course, continue to enhance the feeling around the camp.
The spotlight was taken away a bit with what happened at the end there. Were you surprised to see Richo react that way? Obviously something was said to him.
I didn't actually see that. I shook hands and got off like I tend to do, but I saw some of the bits afterwards. I think it's tough. It's we were all emotional. We get wrapped up in it sometimes. He'll be disappointed overall they lost a game, and if there's reasons he feels that we're part of that, that's up to him. We can only concentrate on what we do.
One of your jobs now is about complacency and not allowing people to start thinking the job's done.
Not really, I don't think, not with this group, because I think they're well aware of the task in the Premier League. I mean, they're earning the right, but early season that was tougher to earn that right. So I think they know how tough the Premier League is. There's no complacency on that view. If anything, it's energy. The run they've been on and the run we continue to be on is energy. It brings energy. It brings more focus, more energy, more desire, and that's what we want. We want to find that, or continue with finding that consistency of performance on a game base. But also, I mentioned early season we had pockets of games we were very, very good. Now we're putting that into 95-minute performances. And that's the most pleasing thing for me is the energy and the commitment to that cause, which is to deliver a performance for 95, 98 minutes, however long it takes, and I think we've done that well.
What can you look at with the remaining part of the season? Dare I say your Europa League place?
No, we continue to look at the next games the most important. The players deserve a lot of credit for this run, but they know that the next game is the most important. We've spoken about it many times. We didn't lose sight of it when we weren't going so well either. We tried to make sense of the last one and then add to the next performance by learning from it, and I think we continue to do that. It keeps things simple for us, it keeps things simple for the team, and it stops you taking things for granted, because it's an unforgiving league, and we know that. So we know we've got to continue the good work that's getting done with good performances.
How pleased are you with the front two, with Barnes and Wood?
Yeah, done really well.
As good as it gets at the Premier League at the moment?
Well, I don't know about that. There's some top strikers in the Premier League, but I think we've been pleased with the bravery to stick with the two. I've been questioned about it many times in the past. I do like two strikers. I often, as I was a centre half, I often think the strikers are the best on the pitch, because it's the hardest job, in my opinion. And we've got two who are active, very active, both physically, the demands of the Premier League, but also with their quality. And I think that's good that that's getting recognised, because they're quality as well. The two of them. And obviously we've got Crouchy coming off the bench when he's needed and ready to go, and Vidzu continues to learn and develop here. So we're pleased with that group of strikers.
With regards to Ashley, I believe the Austria coach was here on Saturday.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I found that out afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, do you expect him to?
I don't know. I'm always open to speak with the managers of various countries if they want to do that. It's their job to decide whether they do want to call players up or not. A bit more talk about the England players as well, with Gareth, and it's up to them really. I support that. I want players to be recognised at international level for this club, not just for them but also for the club, and I think it's a good thing.
Has Ashley sort of suggested which way he might go on that?
No, he hasn't said anything to me.
As far as Tom Heaton is concerned, he seems to be getting better every single game, doesn't he?
He's enjoying it, and he's had to wait a long time to get back in where he wants to be, and he's enjoying it. He's delivering good performances. He knows how we operate, and as I've said many times, it's quite harsh on Joe, but my job is to make decisions, and I just felt the time was right. I've been pleased for him and for the team that's been so far proved right, and he's delivering good performances. But we've got a good clutch of keepers there, and there's a real demand and a real spirit in the camp, which that was the good side. Obviously, people often mention to me, how are you going to make a decision? But they forget about the good side of having that quality group of keepers, and that is they demand a lot, they push a lot. And I think that's a really healthy situation.
Is that demand, do you think, sort of why we're seeing these performances?
Well, you can't measure it, but I think it helps. I think it helps when you know that there's someone pushing you. And I've spoken about the in-house demand many times. And when we try to operate in the market, the idea being, can we put more demand on the group? Obviously, you want to bring in players who can better you, but can they demand from the group? Can they force the group to move forward? And I think that's a big part of your in-house demand, let alone the demands of being in the Premier League and who you're facing every week.
Talking of keepers, I don't know whether you saw the incident yesterday with Kepa. What were your views on that? Have you had a situation where a player...
I didn't see it. I saw it second hand. I was at a wedding, a family wedding yesterday, so that went well, and everyone said yes. So I think that's important at a wedding. But no, it was a good day. But yeah, I did see it afterwards. I think, look, it's complex, on the sidelines, getting your message across, being clear with your information, all them things, really difficult. I'm certainly not going to judge managers, for their part in any of that, because it's so difficult to make sure all the communication's aligned, everyone's emotional, everyone's trying to get it right and do the right things. So I'm sure that's all the manager was trying to do. The rest of it panned out as it did.
Another tough away game for you at Newcastle.
Yeah.
You made of the job Rafa has done there this season?
Well, I think like anyone, he's making the best of his resources. A lot of time they've spent a few quid, obviously, in the window, this one. But I think he continues to do a good job. He's found a format that he likes with a 5-4-1, kind of almost like even at home, kind of counter, defend counter. And he's found that style that suits them, I think, or in his opinion, it seems to, because he's stuck by it. And generally, overall, they're doing well. It's tough. It's tough for all managers. I speak about the top six, but it's tough for their managers as well. They've got a different kind of pressure. The pressure on them is, can you be top four? Can you be the winners, of course, but can you be top four, etc., etc. The rest of us, it's kind of making the best, working with your players, forcing them, demands and trying to bring them performances to get results. And I think he's doing that the same as loads of other managers in the Premier League. And like I say, everyone has a challenge in the Premier League, all different.
I just found it from the speculations back about yourself and the Leicester job. What have you made of that?
Well, I'm still here. Been here approaching 6.5 years. I've had speculation in the past. It's always flattering, of course, from any club. Excuse me, but generally speaking, I'm still here. So, at one point, I always say there's good or bad reasons, things change, but they haven't changed in 6.5 years so far. So I just get on with work here as I do.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.
Sean, you sort of alluded to it in the past that when things are going well, it's obviously a lot easier on the training ground, but when I was last, things were really tough. So how do you transform that?
Well, I think it's hard to guarantee the one thing or two things that make a difference. There's lots of different things, and then the biggest thing for me is the ownership of the players. They take massive credit for it. We, as a manager, my belief has always been to guide. Is that we can guide you to what we think is right. We can offer you the things that we think is right, myself, the staff. Eventually, the players have to grip it and run with it. And I think after a testing first half of the season, for many different reasons, lots of games and Europa and all the rest of it, they've took the challenge on, and I think there's been a real clarity to the work. Some of that is from us on the training ground, of course. But the most powerful thing is when players take ownership of it, and they deserve a lot of credit. They still know there's work to be done. There's no naivety. They know the challenge of the first part of the season, so I don't think they're going to take the second part for granted. But equally, they're earning the right, with their performance levels, both individually. There's been some very strong individual performance, and also as a collective, and I think that's a powerful thing.
When things aren't great, who helps guide you?
Well, it's the old favourite, who motivates the motivator type thing. But, I've been in it all my life, so I know the self-talk, I know how challenging that can be, and all managers will tell you that the most pressure you'll ever have is your own, from what your own self-talk is telling you about what you want to do, what you want to achieve, what you want out for the players, the staff, managing all them things. So I think you just get used to it. It can be very lonely business, of course. Win or lose, it can be a very lonely business. You're always thinking about everything, constantly thinking about what comes next, or certainly I am. So, but I think, not just management-wise, football's my life. It's all I've ever known. So you get used to it, the ups, the downs, the indifference. You just get used to it.
And when you're playing so well, what are the dangers? I mean, do you worry that the players might think, well,
No. I just want to challenge them, and they keep demanding from themselves. It's like I said, the good side of having a tough first half. They certainly don't. We've never taken anything for granted. We know every year is a challenge for us in the Premier League. Top division, very, very tough. They've always seen that challenge. I think now they're getting the rewards for their hard work. There's no reason to knock off from that. I think they know, and the feel-good factor from that. We're earning it. We're not lucky wins. You take a lucky win, but there's not been lucky wins. They've earned the wins and they've earned the performances. So I think they'll continue to do so, and that is the challenge. The demand will be put on them, but I think there's a healthy demand on each other to continue pushing the standard and pushing the performances, and I think that's a good place to be.
And I know, obviously, it's step by step, and you only look at the next game, but obviously you're trying to look up, not down. What are your targets? No,
the target is to keep performing. We're certainly not running away with the fact we're on a good run. You've got to keep performing. This league is very, very demanding. It doesn't care for anyone. You know, you've just got to keep on winning games or performing to win games or getting points. That's the challenge. You know, it's really simplistic in its form. There's more detail to it, but that's the most simplistic thing. Keep demanding from yourselves, keep demanding as a team, and we collectively keep wanting to push and demand so that we get the right results, of course.
Okay. Just a quick one from me, Sean, just team news at the moment.
Everyone's come through okay. Jeff Hendrick, by the way, I forgot to mention that he'd done ever so well physically. He'd been off for 3 days with a bug and was really, really poorly and hadn't eaten properly or anything. He did very well, but he'll be clear of that now, we're sure of that. Obviously, we've got an afternoon session today, so I'll wait and find out anyone else, but all clear from what I know, apart from the longer-term players. Thank you.
Okay, cameras off then, please.